Chapter 1. The car was never the product. I could tell he'd already chosen the car before he ever sat down. It's always the hands. The hands linger. They don't just touch what they're considering, they touch what they already own in their mind. He ran his fingers along the stitching on the steering wheel like he was checking if it was real, like waking up from a dream and needing proof the thing is still there. He was mid-30s, clean haircut, wedding ring that had been worn long enough to lose its shine. The kind of guy who said sir to people younger than him. The kind of guy who could spend 3 hours researching a toaster and still feel guilty buying it. Those are the easiest ones, not because they're stupid, because they're trained. They've been trained their whole life to ask permission before they make decisions. They don't need more information. They need relief from the weight of responsibility. I let him walk the lot first, let him circle the car twice, let him open the trunk even though he didn't need the trunk, let him sit in the driver's seat a second time. People like him want to feel like they were thorough. That way, if the decision goes sideways later, they can tell themselves they did everything right. Finally, we sat at my desk. The air inside the dealership always had that same smell. Coffee burned on a warmer, floor cleaner that never quite erased rubber, and the faint chemical sweetness of new. It was designed to tell you you were safe. It was designed to make you forget you were about to spend real money. He stared at the price sheet like it had personally insulted him. He didn't look at me when he spoke. He looked at the numbers. So, is this really the best you can do? That sentence is never about the number, it's about dignity. He wanted to walk out of there believing he'd won, not because he needed to beat me, because he needed to beat the version of himself that didn't know what he was doing. If I argued, he'd dig in. If I conceded too fast, he'd feel played. The point wasn't to win the negotiation. The point was to make him feel like his decision was inevitable. I smiled, not big, not small, the calm kind. The kind that suggests I wasn't protecting the price. I was protecting reality. If it wasn't, I said, I wouldn't have put it in front of you. It's funny how people respond to certainty. You can watch their mind unclench, their shoulders drop by a millimeter. The little war inside them goes quiet, not because they're convinced, but because they're tired. He blinked. He wanted to push back, you could see it. But pushing back would mean stepping into conflict, and conflict makes decisions feel heavy. I didn't fill the space. Silence is expensive. People will pay almost anything to get out of it. He gave a little laugh like we were sharing something, like I was letting him in on a truth only grown-ups knew. Well, he said, I just don't want to get taken, you know? There it was. Not price, fear. I leaned forward slightly, just enough to signal I was taking him seriously. Let me tell you something, I said. Nobody walks in here wanting to get taken. The people who get taken are the ones who pretend they don't care. They try to act tough. They don't read anything. They sign whatever's in front of them because they want to prove they're not scared. I tapped the paper once, not hard, a punctuation mark. You're doing it right. You're paying attention. His eyes finally met mine, and I watched something click behind them, the feeling of being seen. Not judged, not pressured, seen. When you give someone that feeling, they'll follow you anywhere. He nodded slowly like he was accepting a compliment he didn't usually get. I turned the paper slightly so it was oriented toward him, not a push, just an invitation, and slid a pen beside it. Not into his hand, beside it. Small difference. Huge impact. People hate feeling forced. They love feeling guided. He picked up the pen. Paused. You can always tell the moment when a person stops deciding and starts justifying. The questions change. They stop asking, should I, and start asking, how do I explain this? My wife, he said, and then stopped like the word itself was a trap. She's going to ask why I didn't shop around more. I didn't laugh. I didn't dismiss it. I nodded like this was the most normal thing in the world because it was. Then give her the real reason, I said. Tell her you found the car you wanted, and you didn't want to spend 2 weeks chasing a better story just to save a couple $100. He stared at me. That line wasn't about money. It was about identity. It turned shopping around from responsible to insecure. It made decisiveness the moral high ground. He exhaled through his nose like he'd been holding his breath for an hour. I guess when you know, he said. People say that like it's wisdom, like something in the universe speaks to them. What they mean is, I'm tired of uncertainty. I want this to be over. I nodded once, not enthusiastic, not needy, just acknowledging the truth he'd handed me. He signed. The instant the ink hit the paper, the tension left his face. He smiled like a man who'd escaped something. He even looked younger for a second, like the future had stopped threatening him. That wasn't so bad, he said, almost surprised. I stood and shook his hand, firm, not crushing. Another performance people mistake for character. Congratulations, I told him. You did the hard part. He laughed. He actually thanked me like I'd done him a favor. I had, not because I sold him a car, because I sold him relief. Outside, the day had that clean, bright look that makes you believe in fresh starts. He climbed into his new car with the careful excitement of someone who didn't often let himself have nice things. He gave me a wave as he pulled out. I waved back. Then I watched him disappear past the edge of the lot and felt something warm, almost proud. That's the part people don't understand about sales. They think you feel like a thief. Most of the time, you feel like a surgeon. You cut out hesitation, you remove the rod of doubt, you do a job people won't do for themselves. I went back inside, and the sales manager looked up from his desk. He didn't smile. Smiling costs something when you do it all day. How much? He asked. I told him. He whistled under his breath like he was impressed and annoyed at the same time, then scribbled something on a sheet and shoved it toward me. My commission, a number written in ink that made the whole thing suddenly real. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then I folded the paper and put it in my pocket like it was fragile. On the drive home, I kept replaying the moment he signed. Not the money, the shift, the exact second his fear turned into certainty. That's when I learned the lesson properly. Not that people could be persuaded, that part was obvious. But that persuasion doesn't feel like force to the person experiencing it. It feels like clarity, like confidence, like finally seeing the world the correct way. And if you can reliably give people that feeling, you can feed yourself forever.